So oftentimes medical visits are very short. Doctors clearly in a hurry on their computer. You might have 15 minutes, but you might have hours worth of questions. This is complicated. Living with illness is complicated. Navigating healthcare is complicated. I'll say it again and again and again. So there's no shame in this. What kinds of questions to ask doctors to make sure you get the care that you need? Well, one point here is very often healthcare is meted out in teams. So while you might see the doctor for a few minutes, it may be that in your clinic or where you're getting care, the nurses, you're much closer with the nurse or the social worker or whatever else. So one thought here is all your questions may not need the doctor to answer. In fact, sometimes it's better answered by the nurse or the social worker, et cetera. So one thing to think about here is to use the team to get all your questions answered. Another idea here is to, as you walk into your next appointment, is for you to think ahead. What are the most important questions to get answered today? So you prioritize those and ask those first. And very often you might get the feeling, I'm sad to say, that the doctor just isn't hearing you or isn't even listening. Again, they're on the computer, there's so much going on. So I'd really encourage everybody here, it's not rude. Doctors are people. It is not rude to ask the doctor to repeat the answer or to say, I'm not sure I understood your answer. Can you tell me again? Or can you put that differently? But one way or another, if you are not getting your questions answered, it is not only is it okay, but I would encourage you to push to ask again. And if the appointment comes and goes and you still didn't get questions answered, well, sometimes there's a patient portal where you can email your questions. Or maybe it means you need to schedule yet another follow-up appointment to get those questions answered. I just want to impress upon you that it's in our system, it's a little bit up to you to push to get the questions answered. But one really important question is to ask outright, hey, doc, I'm not sure, when you say that the cancer is metastatic now, what does that mean? Does that mean it's curable? Is it still possible to cure my illness? Or do we need to learn how to live with this illness? Doc, do you think that I may be dying from this illness in the next year or so? Is that possible? Would you be surprised if I died or my loved one died in the coming months or year? That can be a really rich question to provoke the doctor to think about things like hospice or palliative care. Because otherwise the doctor's head's down and sometimes people are walking around with illnesses that they don't even realize are terminal. In fact, that's very, very common. Most care that gets delivered to patients is the care that the doctor wants for the patient, not necessarily what the patient wants for themselves. So back to communication, ask questions. And if you're not getting an answer to your question, ask again and tell them, please reframe. Can you rephrase that? I'm not understanding. There's no shame in that. That's perfectly okay.
医生的专业呢，在于医生做评估，他们做诊断，做疾病的治疗。那他们医生呢开处方药，有需要的时候呢转介给专科医生。那这些呢都是可以和医生讨论的问题。如果你的问题是有关于如何处理生活自理上的困难，比方说行走的困难、起身的困难、洗澡、吃饭、穿衣这方面的困难，那最适当的专业人员呢来回答这些问题，提供协助的应该是治疗师。如果你的问题呢是如何支持家庭照顾者这方面的资讯如何申请不同的资源，那社工呢就是比较适当的专业人员来回答你这方面的问题。如果你觉得你的医生好像没有在了解你说的话或是问的问题，那我的建议呢会是呢你看病的时候呢由家人或者是你的医疗代理人陪你一起去看病。像刚刚 BJ 讲的，就是可以先把你想要问的问题先列举出来，那到时候呢就不会说好像不知道问什么问题。
让我首先来说，如果去访问医生的时候，有的时候觉得医生的回答好像没有满足自己的真的要问的问题，那可以也有两个方法，就是说写下来让医生可以告诉你比较详细的，哦，医生是这样子，我这样的理解对吗？其实也就是让医生再重复一次他的答案，或者是让他真的再听到你在问什么。还有一个好的方法，我自己在想，就是我通常会感到用电子邮件的方法是比较适合的。电子邮件的方法呢，可以通过这样写下来的一些文字，能够让医生给一个答案，也是一个选项。有的时候会说，有什么样的资料可以帮助我做治疗方面的决定呢？可以就是有什么可以参考，我自己也可以做一些自己方面的研究，也可以问一问医生有什么建议，你有什么建议？是什么令到你做出这样的建议呢？那么还有什么其他的可行的方法呢？其他的 options 我可以知道，或者是治疗的方案，也都可以让医生给出一些不同的，不只是单一的一些答案呢。另外可以就是问医生，这种病它治愈的机会有多大呢？治疗的过程会有什么感觉？会有什么副作用？我的药会不会有副作用？副作用有多大呢？或者是这种副作用持续多久呢？如果可以的话，还可以问医生，就是说我还能不能工作呢？这种叫做 life expectancy 有多长？生命会有还有多长？那么另外也可以，如果在家里可以问一问，就是护士多长时间来访一次啊？那医生的 involvement 有多少呢？我自己家庭医生的这种参与又有多少呢？那么如果我打电话的话，护士他的 response 他的反应，马上来看我呢，还是要等多久？有多快呢？他们的反应，或者是我的家人可不可以看我的 medical record，我的医疗的一些个记录啊，哪一些药物是领养来支付或者是不支付的呢？这些都可以问的。还有很多病人会问到这样的问题，就是说，哦，我们想送病人去一些疗养院、一些 facility 或者是 nursing home，那他的条件是怎样的呢？能不能够得到一些经济上的资助呢？这些其实都可以把它一个一个的列下来。苏宁说的方法很好，把它列成一个单子，然后看看医生怎么回答。如果你觉得有一些不清楚，可以再问多一次。
I thought I'd jump in too. Grace, you're making some really good points there about getting specific with treatments. Doctors will often conveniently not talk about the side effects. So it's really important that you really ask these more qualitative questions so you get a sense of what the experience will be like. If you simply ask the doctor, hey, are there more treatment options? The doctor's almost always going to say, yes, we could do this or we could do that. But just because there are treatment options doesn't mean that you should take that treatment. Doesn't mean that it's right for you. Doesn't mean that it's what you would want to do. So the question simply isn't whether there are more treatment options. The question is more whether there are treatment options that will serve you well for what you want. You know, some people hate being in the hospital, but a lot of treatments will require some amount of time in the hospital. So that's a good example of, well, if you ask your doctor if there are more treatments, they say, yeah. You say, but are there ones that I can be comfortable at home? Or like you said, Grace, if I could still work, that might change his answer or her answer in very important ways. And another really important question to ask is, what happens if I don't do this treatment? again, everyone's going to default to more treatment, but that doesn't mean that it's a wise choice. And in the American sort of bioethical world, the legal world, we can always, a person can always say no to treatment. You never have to take the treatment that the doctor's offering you. You can't demand that you get a certain kind of treatment. That's the doctor's choice, but you can always turn it down. And again, that's not the same thing as giving up. Very often more treatment can be hurtful or not what's right for you. So be sure to ask these kinds of questions to get more at the experience of what this treatment's going to be like and whether it serves your needs, not the doctor's needs.